Iskan Temple on Granbury Street in Leicester. This is the resident monk. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, my name is Sanatan Gopal Das. Like Shani said, I'm one of the monks here. I've been a monk for just over 10 years. And I'm going to get grilled by Shanice today, it seems like.
No. So today we're going to talk briefly today about demigods and demons.
Okay.
And the difference between them both.
Yeah.
So can you just define what a demigod is and what a demon is, what the definition is?
Yeah. Okay, I think it's good to define it because it might mean different things for different people in different traditions as well. So a demon generally is anything, anyone, any institution, any values that distracts you and takes you away from spiritual truth and spiritual practice. Okay. So it could be something like being addicted to football, to something really outrageous like killing and hurting other people because you think you're better than others and there's no other higher force out there. So it's a whole spectrum. Okay. You could be like a bit of a mini demon, or you could be a mega demon. Okay. Like, you know. But the principle behind it is we don't just say as a demon is like, you know, some people might say there's Satan or the devil with, you know, the horns and the pitchfork. Yeah, that might be the case. But the principle behind Satanism or the devil or demon is something that's taking you away from spiritual truth and binding you deeper into materialism. Okay. And a demigod? Yeah, and a demigod is different. So this will require a little bit of explaining because in our tradition it can be quite complicated. But you know, in some places people believe in like angels or beings that can help you. In the Vedic tradition or the ancient Indian tradition, which is known as Sanatana Dharma, you have like entities like us, spirit souls, but because they've got a lot of good karma, so many lifetimes of doing spirituality, but it's not 100% pure or complete, then what happens is they're given a position in some of the heavenly planets where they can look after some of the aspects of material nature. So there'll be like a demigod in charge of rain, a demigod in charge of the wind, a demigod in charge of the ocean, a demigod in charge of the trees, demigods in charge of different insects. How many demigods are there? 330 million, we've been told. It's too many to count. Yes. And the idea is, so what do they do? Part of it is they're living it up in the heavenly planets, living up their good karma. Part of it is they've been given a service to look after different aspects of this material world. And for every material world, there's another 330 million set of demigods. Just like you and I, but they're just a higher position. And in the Vedic tradition, people can pray to the demigods if they don't know who the ultimate truth is. Because generally what happens is, as human beings, we want things in our life. We work hard to get them, but we may not be able to get them. Like, you know, you see an advertisement for a nice car, a nice partner, you see something in a Hollywood film about a nice lifestyle, you try getting it yourself, you can't. And so you pray to a higher force. So, you know, someone might pray to an angel, someone might just pray to the sun, someone might even pray to a demon, like, you know, unknowingly. But in the Vedic tradition, you pray to a demigod that's in charge of that aspect of materialism. So for money it would be someone, for knowledge it would be someone else. But because they don't know the highest truth, they just pray for that, thinking that thing will make you happy and complete. Okay, so can a demon mask as a demigod? Can it mask itself as a demigod? Yeah, more than masking over, in the history books that we have, they try and take over. So there's a perpetual fight between the demons and the demigods, and who's going to rule over the heavenly planets and all the rest of it. And the demons feel there's a bit of favoritism towards the demigods and so on. So there's this sort of thing going on. But more than that, yeah, I think you could get spirits that try and mask as good, wholesome, sentient beings that you could connect through. You know, so some people might try and connect through a mystic or a psychic or a spirit guide. You know, in some of these horror films, there's that Ouija board or whatever you call it, and then, you know, you can make contact with someone. So generally speaking, they're spirits that you can contact, and those spirits aren't always nice. Or they can mask themselves as something nice and wholesome, but essentially they're trying to take over you or control you or tell you something. which may make you go astray and they get pleasure from that. You could also get good spirits as well though.
So you said that demons will try and take over you. Do demigods try and take over you or like possess you?
No, demigods wouldn't, because demigods are living a higher quality of life than we can currently imagine. So they have no need to. Spirits and ghosts and things like that, because they have material desires, but because of their karma they don't have a physical body, so therefore to enact their desires they need to take over someone or something, basically. So they need like they've got the software but not the hardware. Okay. So they need the hardware to do that. So yeah.
So in Krishna consciousness we have deities, and I've spoken to a lot of people about this, and they are saying that the deities are idols, and we're praying to idols.
Yes.
So what's the?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that question up. That's a very big misconception.
Yeah.
In fact, the other day I was speaking about this to some other students that we have coming here. So this word idol is coming from the Abrahamic tradition, and I don't know exactly when it started, but the concept of it is there actually in the Old Testament. So you know when Moses rescued the Jews from Egypt and was rescuing them, and then like the story goes, he goes up Mount Sinai and he goes there for 40 days, 40 nights. But in the process of those 40 days, the people that he's rescued, who are at the bottom, they're thinking he's probably dead, you know. How's he going to survive for that long? Even though they saw the miracles beforehand, still they were thinking like that. So the elders in that group that were rescued were saying we need to pray to God, and they may have been influenced by the culture where they were saved, and so they said let's make a form of God. And so I think they ordered one of the persons there, I think his name was Aaron, or it may be something else, I forget now, and he collected all the gold of everyone, he melted it and made it into that golden ram. And so they all started to pray to that golden ram, which they purely imagined this is a form of God they could worship. And then, you know, long story short, Moses comes down, he had the 10 Commandments written down, he gets all angry, he flips out, and does a lot of stuff and says a lot of things. But that's what a principle is. An idol is man's imagination of who God is, without any revelation from God. So say if you've got no information from God about what God looks like, or likes, or does, or anything like that, and then you think, okay, no problem, I'll make a form of God. Without any divine inspiration or anything, it's just purely my imagination, and you make it out of the elements of this world, that's called an idol. And so that's not allowed to be worshipped, because you're basically concocting a form of God.
So if it hasn't been revealed by God?
Exactly, and we agree with that 100%. If it's not been revealed by God, if it's not in the scriptures that are the words of God, then it's idol worship. What we would say on top of that though is many of these other traditions, that's where it cuts it short, because people can misuse that principle and make things. And in that tradition, God didn't reveal God's self, like for whatever reason. In the Vedic tradition though, if you want to know what God likes, where he lives, how he dresses, what he eats, his whole postcode, everything is given there. And so one of the things that's like the compassion of Krishna, we say, is because Krishna understands we live in a material world, and we compute with our material senses. Therefore, he allows himself to be represented in the material elements, so we could start a personal relationship of service with him in this material world. So we can see something, we can smell something, we can hear something, but the whole thing is prescribed by God in the scriptures. So again, we can't make up something, we can't just close our eyes and just hope for the best. There's actually specific people that are trained up knowing what's in the scriptures, how to make a deity. And so the actual word in Sanskrit is archa vigraha, which means a genuine form, or bona fide form. So it's like if I wanted to post a letter to get to my friend, so I write the letter, I put it in the envelope, I put a first class stamp, or second class stamp, whatever you want to put, and I just put it in any old box. It's not going to reach the place, right? But when I put it in the red post box, then it reaches the place. So similarly, who gives the post box the importance is the government, is the that industry. So similarly, who gives the deity importance, and who says the deity, you could pray and put your message in front of the deity and it goes to God. Krishna says that. So that's the difference between deity and idol worship.
And in Krishna consciousness, are there many gods? Is there one God? How do they break this down?
So actually, there's one God. So we agree with that. It's one God. So you can say it's a monotheistic, one theistic God. But it's a little more complicated or fun, you can say, than that. It's monotheistic polymorphism.
Okay, I don't know what that word means.
Yeah, so like poly is many and morph, kind of like you morph into a shape like that. So it's one God that could come in many forms over the different periods of time, like that. So God could come as himself. God could come as an expansion of himself, which is commonly known as an avatar, one who descends from the spiritual world. Or God could also invest a soul that's very pure with God's energy, so it seems like God is working through that person. So in that way God can manifest in different ways. Ultimately everything is coming from God, but Krishna says although everything's coming from him, everything's not him. He's also separate from everything as well. So that's what we say. According to time, place, circumstance, God either becomes himself or as an expansion of himself, where he empowers a living entity to either reveal the truth about spiritual life, either partially, slightly more, or fully, depending on the needs, the understanding, and the purity of the people that he's speaking to.
So I've been trying to figure out what is satanic worship, like what does that actually look like?
Okay.
Because like we said, sometimes they can present themselves a certain way.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, on the internet conspiracy world, there's a lot of talk about celebrities in these little cults, and there's like these baby sacrifices and
nice.
really nice.
Okay.
And human sacrifices, and they're eating meat. So when we are offering something to maybe we think it's a demigod, but really it's a demon. Is there any indication in the type of offering that you're giving them to what that other end wants?
Yeah. Generally what dictates the result of us doing a sacrifice or an offering is the intention behind our offering.
Okay.
So even more than to the person that you're offering to, your intention has a lot more power or direction.
Okay.
So say for example, let me give you a few examples. Say if you have someone who's worshipping Satan to become the king amongst men, to become the top celebrity, the top actor, the most beautiful thing, and they do, I don't know if they do this or not, but they slaughter an animal or a child or do some sort of sacrifice like that, then they're basically worshipping with a mood of, I want to be someone within this world, right? And at the cost of another living entity. If be it, so be it, no problem. I have no problem with that.
Okay.
So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says there's different types of sacrifices, and that type of sacrifice where you're harming either yourself or someone else for a lower motive is called sacrifice in the mode of ignorance.
Okay.
So tamagun, it's called like that. So that's basically the motive. So even if you did that to a demigod or to God, still that sacrifice is in the mode of ignorance. Irrespective, because your desire, your intention is something that's not spiritual. So whether you do that sacrifice and you gave the results of that sacrifice as something that's really pure, because your motive is impure, it's in the mode of ignorance. The only difference being is if you did it to someone who's pure, they will accept it, but they'll help you to rise beyond the next time you do a sacrifice. But when you're doing that type of sacrifice in the mode of ignorance to a satanic or demonic force, they want to keep you in the mode of ignorance and go more and more perverted, basically.
I've spoke to you about this before, but it does tie in with what, it is a little bit more of karma, but it does tie in with what we were saying. I watched this lady online, and she was a witch. She said she was a witch. Okay. And her job was to, people would come to her, tell her their story about what happened, and then they would ask for something in exchange for money.
Okay.
So maybe, for example, my boyfriend cheated, he got another woman pregnant, can you put a hex on him?
Yeah, right, yeah.
And when she was describing this, she said that, and the great thing about it is there's no karma. So I was wondering, if you sort of offend or you're being rude or whatever to a demigod, do they take vengeance on you?
Okay, so there's two things there. One is like what that lady was saying, which was saying is if you put, or you ask her to put a hex on someone, or we say like black magic or black arts or something. Or sometimes in that film, right, you get that voodoo doll and you stick a pin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Is there no karma for that? That's like the first thing, and the second thing is the demigods. Yeah, the first thing is we're taught if you live at the expense of Mother Earth or another living entity, you get karma.
So there's no way for that not to have karma?
No.
Okay.
Unless it happens naturally.
Okay. Unless
it's in the laws of karma, which means if someone has done something wrong to you, their reaction will come. Whether it's in this decade, in this lifetime, in another lifetime, it will come. There's a universal justice system called karma. For every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. And if you're living at the expense of Mother Earth or another living entity, that comes in the form of bad karma or a negative reaction. If you do nice things, positive things, but disconnected from the spiritual origin, you get good karma. And that will come to you either this lifetime or another lifetime, basically. So yeah, as much, it's better to just have revenge fantasies than to act on it. But if you can also let go of those revenge fantasies, it will lower your blood pressure and it'll be good for you emotionally as well.
That's hard. It's hard to do.
It's hard, but I also have to do that as well. And if you, the second part of your question is if you did a hex.
If you offended a
if you ended a demigod,
vengeance on you.
Generally, it's described in this age that we're in Kali, which is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. The demigods don't really expect much from us.
Right.
But which is good. In previous ages, though, if you did a sacrifice to a demigod that was incomplete or somehow it became disrespectful, then there would be a big reaction.
Okay.
But in those ages, it said you'd live for thousands of years, your consciousness was so pure, you wouldn't be so distracted, you spend a lot of time and energy and even money if you're a king on these types of sacrifices, so there's a lot more riding on it. And the culture was a lot more cultured back then. So it was so pure that actually the demigods would come amongst men and women and you'd be able to see them. But as the level of sacrifices have got more and more degraded, they don't bother to come here anymore to describe.
So where are the demigods now?
So they're situated in their own planets, which are all in the heavenly planets. So
if I had a spaceship that was amazing, would I be able to travel there?
You might be able to travel to, so even these planets like Jupiter and all of these sort of planets, you can get living entities living there, but it's described unless you've got the adhikar or the spiritual qualification to see them, you can't see them. So it's almost like a dimension within a dimension that you're privy to or not privy to, basically. So even if you were able to live forever and had a rocket ship that could travel at the speed of light, unless you've got the qualification to go beyond the speed of light, you won't be able to go there. Even it's described that actually some beings like demigods can even be here. So when people are doing like spiritual chants or mantra meditation and stuff, like Lord Brahma and Narad Muni can come, because they come wherever spirituality is very potent, to take part of it in a subtle way. And so that's why it's described like our spiritual grandpa, Srila Prabhupada, could see them when they were coming. But his eyes are tainted with the love of God, so then he can see these things. So it's like you can see all of these things. It's like like dogs could see certain range of vision that humans can't see, but that's still material vision. In a similar way, if you was to take that spectrum further, there's spiritual vision. So you can see entities that are more subtle but still material, like ghosts and things like that, that we can maybe feel, but they say even dogs can see them as well. And then you start seeing things that actually aren't material but spiritual.
So if you have the qualification, like you said, to see the demigods, can you see the demons as well? Yeah. You can see all of it?
Yeah.
That sounds like very, very stressful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it would be such a great thing. I remember watching that film. In fact, I haven't even seen this film. I've seen only parts of it. But that film with Bruce Willis, Sixth Sense, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that kid could start seeing ghosts.
Yes,
right? It's a bit like that. So, often like the nature of mankind is we want to see things, that we can't currently understand or see, and we think that would be helping us. But actually, sometimes not seeing certain things is actually the most helpful thing. Yeah. Especially for our ability to digest it in this human mind and human body. So you see, demigods can see more than us because they can process a lot better than us, and they're not so affected by what they see. In the same way, that's why with children you've got PG films and universal films, because you watch something that's at a level where they're not mature enough for, and they can turn up really messed out. It's kind of like that essentially.
And one last question. If, let me try to say this right. Say if I have the vision where I can sort of make out the demigods and the demons.
Yeah.
Say if there's some type of lost spirit can lost spirits get stuck in a place?
Yeah, for sure.
And say if they come to me, can I help them?
Yeah, for sure. But we say you could even do that now, even if you can't see them.
Oh, okay.
So like in this tradition here, we chant, like, you know, you've heard the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So it said this sound is coming from a spiritual world. So it's spiritual sound vibration. And when you chant it loudly, everything in the ether that hears it gains in spiritual benefit. Even the insects that are not like human consciousness, just by subjecting to the vibration, they can even attain a human form in the next lifetime rather than going through so many other animal life forms. So even the ghosts and spirits that hear, when they hear it, they get benefit as well. So the process, in one sense, whether you can see them or not, doesn't change. It's the same because the process is so powerful.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay,